Hello, and thank you for joining. Thank you all for being part of this conversation. So we had a terrific conversation yesterday in the CEO panel. So I think we have a couple topics very well covered. And the first one was the discussion about direct to consumer versus the distributor model. And we had another topic in a very long list. We had 10 topics to discuss, but we choose two of them. And the second one, this post-pandemic trauma that we are involved as a companies. So do you mind to share some thoughts on what happens in this room?
Yeah, it was a long conversation. It was
Very
definitely a long conversation and a very important conversation. I mean, I guess the main dilemma that we as direct selling companies are facing is how do we integrate direct to consumer. Now, we've always been direct to consumer with the original direct to consumer model, but now it's been accentuated by technology, and it's also being used by many more brands and other companies that are in the business of selling products. And so they have kind of taken our story and they've made it their story, but with technology. So we are forced at this point to figure out how to bring that on without competing with our existing sales force.
Correct.
What they would call channel conflict, right? Obviously, there's many views on this. I think Kevin Guest from USANA really presented a really interesting case about Nike, right? And how they worked through a lot of distributors at one time and then decided to go more direct to the consumer, a major decline in sales, but then eventually they saw an uptick. And the question was, can direct selling companies do the same? The challenge we have is that when our business takes a dip, it's not just that consumers stop buying, is our distributors go somewhere else. And then when they do, can we get them back? So it makes that decision very difficult. Now, my personal view on it, this is my personal view, is that direct to consumer is necessary for us to establish our brands, which I think is very important for our distributors, because our distributors are looking for credibility, right? So I noticed that with us setting up an Amazon store. When we set up an Amazon store, it wasn't for, which is a direct to consumer, right? But it wasn't to compete with our sales force. It's to be able to sell it in the largest marketplace that exists in the world, make sure our brand is in there, make sure we're eliminating the unauthorized resellers, but also so that people can say, hey, our products are also on Amazon. Only thing is, I, as a Manatech associate, I can get it to you at a better price.
Because more convenient with the consultancy.
More information, more. But the price on Amazon kind of sets the value of the product, but the associates are getting it for less, which makes it attractive. Does that make sense? So for me, it's really building your brand and protecting your field and giving them an advantage. I mean, a narrative they can use when they're prospecting for customers or for distributors. So for me, direct to consumer is not a do we do it or we don't do it. We have to do it.
Correct.
But how do you do it in a way that's, call it, morally, ethically correct for your sales force? And as long as your sales force can see the benefit of what you're doing for their business, I think we can get alignment between the sales force and with the company. So that's my kind of take on that whole concept.
I think it's some other advices in the yesterday conversation was around if you don't enforce your customers to buy the products, it will be barely impossible that you sure can sell it. So it's a good point.
Right.
You had another topic yesterday, was a very controversial about the compensation that's in top of this discussion, and your numbers are good or not, and that's another big topic.
Right, that's a very big topic. I mean, obviously, a topic CEOs in the industry should be talking about, because I mean, more than 40% of every dollar that we create in revenue is going to associates and distributors. And what we gotta figure out is what's the value add that they bring in to warrant that big, deployment of resources, which is really a challenge for companies that have been around a long time.
Absolutely.
Because, and also, it's also, we didn't talk about it yesterday, but it's also a regulatory challenge.
Correct.
Because, the FTC is always going to wonder, why are you paying somebody 20 up from the sale? Why are you paying them for the sale? What do they have to do with the sale? So
they work for you,
right? I mean, it just it is a value proposition that that we have to deal with in terms of what did that person do to get paid for what's going on, but also I think there's a regulatory issue eventually, because it's hard to justify that how that money is being distributed on the basis of a sale, and why shouldn't the person who's making the sale get the biggest portion of the sale?
Correct.
Versus dividing it among so many people that may have not had nothing to do with the sale, technically. Of course, we know they brought the people in, who brought the people in, who brought the people in, who brought the people in. But at some point, for us to literally stay in business, we have to be able to reward the people who are actually in that activity of creating the sale versus that whole structure. So it's controversial. And because we are very, we're very committed to our sales force. And so we want to do the things that are right for the people that have been here for a long time. But we also need to be in a place where we can really reward the new people that we need to come into the system for us to continue to grow as a company.
Absolutely. I think that topic was incredible, huge.
Yeah.
And then we moved to the other topic, which is okay. Then we had this nightmare or dream, depends on who is seeing it, when this pandemic change that made in every single company. And we have a lot of discussions if this is stays forever, or something temporary, or what every company is dealing with this change.
The pandemic definitely changed everything, but it really accelerated something that was already going to happen.
Very good point.
So I think the concept of working from home, concept of e-commerce, those things were coming anyways. I think the pandemic accelerated it, and it's made us have to react faster because we couldn't be proactive, so we're being reactive. So I think there's a group of people who still think at some point the world is going to go back to normal, and then we're going to go back to the things we've always done. And I don't think so. I think the change is here to stay.
And I think that the big discussion on the yesterday discussion was, okay, if you're going forwards and backwards with those ideas, that the companies are struggling with the results because nothing is clear right now. Because hey, are we in the new trend? Are we backing forwards? Depends on what are you doing. Moving like in between or going back to your old, I think, activities. So I think that's the key issue. What are your thoughts about it? You want to move ahead? You were still in the middle. You're back into your previous practices.
For me personally, I think we need to move ahead, and we need to move ahead faster. Why? We saw the results, and you got to follow results. Results tell you everything. If what you're doing is not giving you the results you want, then you must change for things to change.
Good point.
Right? So for me, we have to do it smartly. We have to do it, we got to use data more effectively, right? So follow the data, but you have to have the mentality that actually change is good. I think what we have to realize is that on the other side of change, as hard as change is, is truly a greater opportunity than we've ever had in the history of our industry. You saw the numbers. Yes, sales are down now, but the number of people, 73 million people, who are doing something else today to generate extra income is something we never had in the history of our industry.
Very good point.
Right? So we have to adapt ourselves. We have to make the right changes. We have to make the right adjustments to be able to bring these people into our space, because we were the original gig economy.
That's a very good truth.
We were the ultimate. We're the first gig ever. We're the ultimate gig. We have many things that no gig offers, mostly, from leverage income to residual income to global income. We have so many good things to put on the table. We just need to move the people into our space. And again, that's why we thought Trulu was the part of the solution, because can we speak their language so they can come close enough? But when they come close enough, they can see then that there is something else, all the other benefits that are behind it. At least that's the theory. I hope that's true.
Absolutely. No, it is. I'm a truly believer that that's the path, because all the other gig economies is you are an operator or something.
Mm-hmm.
Here, you are the real ambassador.
Right.
So I think that's the value proposition, and that's the key difference.
What keeps you awake at night?
That's what the conversation, and there is a lot of topics, but was the two main ones, and this is a great discussion. Al, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for sharing all these thoughts.
Well, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to your audience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.